necessarily, but I am very, very curious on how MW0 is going to do on this over. First ever official game on this agent. Let's see what kind of power he packs.
I'm looking at Heat. They're already just looking to try and push straight into mid. It's going to be a brawl within the first few seconds, and already CEND and Zeke have put themselves in that advantage. We expected this one to be a fist fight, a brawl throughout. We know that ACEND like to take teams on that individual skill. For now, though, we're going to see them split. Yeah, Morris has managed to come in from behind. The shot's connecting and actually drops the spike. Although they've been isolated by the Sage Wall, this now becomes a little bit more awkward for the side of ACEND. And they are in a 3 versus 2.
The fact that he's playing a Killjoy means that he might be going on those lurks a bit more. He usually plays the duelist and is playing the tempo like a duelist despite being on a very different agent. MW0 has the recon that just coming online, has been sort of playing in that kitchen position. Burris might have got more than he bargained for, and he still makes it work.
See, this was something we wanted to talk about going into the match, was the fact that in the press conference, Murs went, you know what? I'm not going to be changing my role. MW0, he's going to come in. He's going to be the one changing. I'm sticking to everything I was doing before. That was a lie.
Yeah.
Because he has definitely switched his agent for this one, as he's moved away from the Reyna and gone on to the Killjoy. I'm going to say for now, it doesn't look like he needed the dismiss because he just killed the majority of the enemy team anyway.
And that was the concern for Mirrors in particular, because like Achilles highlighted on the desk, usually plays Reyna. Almost got a 30 bomb against Envy to bring that series into overtime back in Masters 3. Can he have that same kind of performance on the Killjoy? Very different role. He's already got 4 kills already. You never know. He might get more than 29 this time.
Hey, you know what? If he's going to keep farming up that lockdown, I don't think they're going to mind too much. Now, in terms of investment for this round, it's a minute one. You have yourself a Marshall onto Zeke, a little bit extra spent just to try and make this one costly. And although the compositions are nigh on mirrored, this is one of the differences, is that he basically has to pop off individually, otherwise the value of that Reyna, not quite there.
I wonder why they gave the Marshall to Zeke and not CEND. I guess he does have the frenzy, obviously has that dash in that he could use, close the distance, but Heat's going to win out that up battle. Wants to get a bit more. Confidence is going to be an important thing for both of these players when it comes to getting these operator kills. I think naturally Heat's going to have that advantage on the defense because the defensive op is incredibly strong.
Yeah, the only thing I will say though is I feel like with CEND, I actually enjoy watching his attacking operator more on this map, but just because it's him. Yeah. I feel like in 99.9% of cases I'd agree with you, but just because it's CEND, I'm gonna wholeheartedly disagree. But a 4 versus 4, Bone Cold has managed to find one back, but the time is ticking. And a pretty good position for Joe to try and at least do a little bit of extra damage. He's just going to fall back, not opting to take too many risks here. And MW0, well, he's doing a lot of damage. They're going to get themselves the plant. It's not too bad for ACEND, making some extra cash. Okay, yeah, there we go. Making some extra cash and only killing off one player because eventually MW0 will get it done.
Do you think for ACEND though, I mean, it's early days yet, but did you feel that their biggest problem in Masters 3 was just that inexperience?
Potentially. Like, I think they had some tough matchups, and I definitely think that they probably should have gone through the map that ended up eliminating them. Like, obviously having the sort of almost opponents obviously being probably the most experienced team in terms of previous FPSs. So it's possible that that was the reason. I don't think that should make a difference in this match. Yeah,
and because VIVO keeps suffering from the same thing. They even said in the sort of intro that they're inexperienced, the pressure. That's the thing that they're struggling with, because this is also a very young squad. You're looking at Heat, who's only 18. MW is 20. The oldest is Joe, who's 25.
Don't say that.
Similar stuff. Yeah, it makes us feel ancient. I'm 29 in like 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on. But ACEND is exactly the same. There's no
you saying it'll be your birthday,
boys.
Right?
Yep. But it is apparently very unlucky to talk about your birthday or be wished happy birthday before your birthday.
Okay,
so,
happy birthday. Right?
Yeah, thanks, chat. I imagine all of like Twitch YouTubers just happy birthday. Yeah, I'm not surviving.
A lot of players currently stacked up on the B site. Of course, for VIVO KEYD, this is one of those rounds where they're playing it as a bonus. They do have a few rifles available, and there is one of them. He has just taken the head clean off of Zeke, and that was the lurk play. The rest of the team making their push, but they are moving into the majority of that Killjoy utility, and you can see the rest of the team already running on the rotation.
Ooh, Murray's maybe wasn't expected to get spotted by that recon, that considering, and now CEND up on rafters, just seeing if he can catch any players. Look at this movement though from Heat, he's just jumped onto the spot. Bone Cold at least catches him, and MW can take out CEND at this point. Starzone now trying to up this tempo. The trades are good.
No, incredibly good. It's left just on to Bone Cold, and he can't get anything done. A bonus round victory for VIVO KEYD as they kick things off 3-0, and maybe a few worrying signs already for ACEND, because, yeah, these are the sort of confidence plays that I think are only going to pump up VIVO KEYD. Like, this is what they spoke about, that they're almost playing off of, like, emotion and feeling, and I'm sure for a lot of analysts that is one of the most triggering things a team can ever say. But
other than we play our own game.
We play our own game, yeah, we hear that one a lot. But just listening to the players, even as like before they walked out on the stage, during their walk out on the stage. It would the loudest
out of the team so far.
Just sitting down in their chairs, already screaming. So if they can keep this momentum going, well, ACEND are going to have to break it, that's for sure.
And ACEND for this map, we've not really seen. We've seen him twice since Masters. One of those was that dominant loss against Vision Strikers, but he's certainly online. I think the big question is, how good is Heat realistically against some of the other Jets or other players in the world? It's certainly up there, but you also need to see him almost put the rest of the team on his back, like Scream-esque almost.
I want to point out, Heat has 3 kills. They are all on Zeke. In each round, he's been the opening kill.
On the Reyna as well.
He found him, yeah, he found him with the Marshall. Last round, he peeked him with the rifle. He's done it with the Op. So he's already killed him, 3 different guns, 3 different rounds. Of course, in this one, an inherent disadvantage for Zeke. But they're being caught all over the shop. MW0 ready for the push, and these individual peaks are just garnering absolutely nothing for ACEND.
Effectively, the fact that Heat has the operator on this early, and this is looking to be a flawless. We'll see what it's like. At least Heat can try and keep that gun in hand. It means that for the next 8 rounds on his defense, he might still have that sniper rifle in his little paws. Now, CNED has picked up
30 seconds
that
left.
Stinger, just a bit of a lighter buy from him. But from this distance, I don't think he's beaten Vixen.
I will be a little bit annoyed if he does somehow get something done, especially now he's been spotted. It just doesn't seem like the gun that's going to be able to do anything. Yeah, look how much health he still has left, Ryan. Let's
God bless the Sting.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. A Prime Gaming flawless coming out for the side of VIVO KEYD. This is looking dominant thus far, and I want to touch, just before we get into the next round, on that map for a little bit, because it was something brought up by the desk. Like, realistically, Bind, I think we can give in as a shoe-in for ACEND, but other than that, Ryan, I think the maps are actually pretty decent for VIVO KEYD.
Yeah, the fact that VIVO KEYD wanted to play this in the end says a lot about how prepared they're in, and you would expect ACEND to be relatively the same. They're not the kind of team that's going to bring out KO like we saw from Crazy Raccoon, but those teams that have kind of gone, yeah, we've been working on our ICEBOX throughout this time, Team Secret, for example, have come in and surprised. It's not like out there when it comes to strategies, but the play is tighter. That to me is much more interesting from watching those games before. But now you were saying about that attack operator, it finally gets seen it off the board and Heat goes down first. Yeah,
they were waiting for Heat. They know he's going to be pushing in every single round, and as I said, he's been finding an opener onto Zeke, so maybe Zeke will feel a little bit safer. He's like, oh god, good, he's dead. Maybe there's a chance I can actually survive in this round, but that 1 kill might not necessarily be the difference. We know how heavy ACEND like to lean into this A site. Thanks, Jess, for that one. But we're going to see the Killjoy all pulled. Maybe you're just preemptively expecting this. It's been destroyed, so I guess technically they have baited out or not on the other side from Bone Cold, but the whole team is now here ready and waiting.
Yeah, there's no flanks around. That's exactly what Keyless is checking, but now he might actually go on a bit of a lurk. He's realized how much space is here, and Zeke, the rest of his team are retreating, but he's able to hold on. These layers are so important, so the fact that Zeke has been dying first for the majority of the rounds, now we start to see him do exactly what you want to see from Arena. The amount of players that kept over on the A site just from him now. Everybody else has rotated away. VIVO KEYD don't want to take that risk, and they can't because Zeke is still going to push. Murray does eventually take him down.
Yeah, but he's wasted enough time. The rest of the team set up ready and waiting. CNED's operator will put a second in the grave, and well, this round in itself is looking grave. A cleanup for ACEND. Finally, they make it onto the board. But there's going to be a lot of cash here, Ryan. It's not the end of the world just yet for VIVO KEYD.
And they got Blade Storm as well. Even at this point, he just goes, I'm going to just retain my money for now, basically. No, I'm not going to buy up another operator. I think the interesting thing, though, is Keyless is 1 away from having a Viper's Pit. Ultimates are very much coming online on the side of ACEND. Hunter's Fury just used. I do like the fact that ACEND weren't deterred away from that A site. Usually you see that Killjoy ult being placed before the plant just to kind of scare them over to B, to falling into any traps. I mean, that's what ACEND did anyway, but the fact that Zeke was still alive, he's enough of a thorn in the side, and I think that's what makes him such a powerful player for ACEND. He's a pain in the ass to deal with.
I think you could say that for most of the members of ACEND, but I'm not going to disagree. Now again, we're going to see a different form of aggression coming out from Heat. Not going for the same battle. It's almost like that rotational AWP we've seen for years and years. He's brought it into Valorant as well. The question is anyone going to peek him? That A-site lean is definitely there once again, but you can see ACEND have already adapted. They're being caught off early in a lot of rounds from this aggressive operator, and instead, they are holding.
Utility on the side of ACEND, it's very difficult to really unearth when these operators are posted up. Most people will look at flashes as being the main thing, but like breach stuns, for example, the Aldrun is one of those things that is very good at it, but of course, being baited away by Joe, he is allowed to stay in place, and he knows that nobody's coming. The stack is moving over to A on the side of the defense.
Yeah, they put Joe there purely for the purpose of destroying the drone, just to make sure his position wasn't revealed, and as said, the rotation so far from VIVO KEYD has been spot on. They've got pretty much every player ready and waiting, but Zeke's Empress allows him to not only find that opener, heal up, and escape, and CNED has just popped one more. ACEND starting to roll into this A site, finding every single kill, and they're even looking to potentially try and hunt down the remainder.
That's
already.
Not a bad idea.
Look at the runaround. Like, Bone Cold's just like, right, if they're running away, I'm going to find them.
Oh, that's a nice little peek from Zeke. Like, he's still holding on, not likely to use that Blade Storm just for an eco when it comes up. Had to buy up that operator again. So saving these guns is important. So ACEND are doing well here. He can just keep chipping away. It's not like ACEND have been winning streaks of rounds in a row. Their economy is going to be okay, but not ideal. The fact that he almost feel pressured to take those fights. He fell into the ACEND trap.
It's such a difference maker. Like, I really would like, I don't know if the desk can be bothered. I know they like to have a little bit of a nappy nap while the game's on. I can actually see Jess from here, eyes closed, just enjoying herself. She doesn't have her headphones on, so she doesn't know I'm actually being very mean. But I want to know if there's a difference in percentage of rounds on the attack with CNED with an operator in his hands and CNED without. Because right now, it's been 100% to 0.
There's so many like stat nerds in the scene now. I'm sure that's something that like Platch have been leaning on. Seasonal is worthy of a shout as well with the work that he's been doing in the scene for that. And it is an interesting thing, especially when you have some Jets in this tournament that don't really play the op a lot. For example, later on we see Patapan. Not really known for the op. You got BA, he's amazing with all of the guns. He's the most well-rounded one. So CNED versus Heat is going to be interesting in various ways other than who gets the most killing kills.
The timing here is going to be everything. They didn't spot out Heat, and he's already taken off 2 heads. Not the start that they were looking for. He waited for his moment and found it perfectly. Still a good chance here, though, for an afterplant, but actually, straight away, we're going to see the Hunter's Fury just patiently waiting to see if he attempts another. Tagged him, but Bone Cold will survive. This should allow him to run. He knows, just connecting everything, put into his crosshair, and you can see the confidence. He's running straight in. He spots the man at the back, but Bone Cold takes him down. Still a 2 versus 4 scenario, some weaker weapons on the remaining players, so there is still quite a lot to do. And Bone Cold, he might catch a player with the Aldro now, a free kill for him at least, but his teammates being pressured. Killers needs to stay alive, and actually his pit's about to drop. Players low on the other side, a chance to try and clear them up, but it will be Mures to put him in the ground. VIVO KEYD, or should I say Heat, win them an eco.
See, I don't know about that as well. Just in the, it wasn't even an eco, I don't think. There was still a full buy. It was just Heat just decided to use that Blade Storm in that given moment.
I think there were definitely a few pistols and SMGs.
Oh yeah, sorry, MW0 did, but I think a couple of players, Murs and stuff, still had guns in hand. It was a bit of a amalgamation, so very important for them to sort of win out in the end. It's just playing from this position. It was half played from Zeke, and Stazo was already in the motion of getting the Sage Wall up, the spike down. This kill is beautiful. What I like, though, is that Bone Cold pushing to get the Aldron kill. The rest of VIVO KEYD moves into like the site to split up that Viper's Pit. They completely isolate both Bone Cold and Keyless. That's a very difficult 2v4, whatever it was in the end.
Quick push through mid, wall to isolate 3 players actually looking in this direction, though. A good opportunity for Morris, but he's taken down almost instantly. Still, though, a couple of other defenders, and along with Bone Cold's Hunter's Fury, this execution looking a lot better. They need a response, and they need it soon. And while Heat, this time, I don't think there's a hero to be found.
Bone Cold having 2 Hunter's Furies in 8 rounds now?
Not bad.
That's not bad at all. Especially when it's mostly like, I think Starzo going to be planting the spike for the most part, not only just to get that res online, Hungry Hippos, those ult orbs, but the Sage Walls to just protect yourself whilst you're doing it. So Bone Cold has been farming away a little bit. They've seen it can't afford the operator, which I'm pretty sure he would be able to. He does have that Blade Storm as backup for the next round as well.
Yeah, I like that though. I think that adaptation from ACEND is one that I almost feel was necessary. Like, we've seen some slower rounds that give someone like Heat opportunities. Instead, they just take that away from him. And actually, there were 3 players in a pretty solid position from VIVO KEYD, maybe expecting that response, but we've seen Zeke step up, a couple of kills coming through from him, and they win this one with 4 players alive. So any chance of really destroying that economy that could have come through from the last round just dissipates in an instant.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mild hunt in the end even for ACEND, trying to catch onto the back of Heat. KEYD is the one that goes down. I do think that ACEND, though, isn't quite the case of CNED and friends as much as people may, certainly outside of EMEA, think. Like, KEYD is just a player, for example, that I feel just doesn't really maybe get the accolades as some other strong Sentinel players in the end anyway. He's looking at the 2 coaches, NBS. I think really he needs to join the Bold Gang. I think at this point, I think it'd suit him.
Stop trying to convert everyone.
Everybody.
We've been. It's happened to Achilles as
Jess
well.
and Yinsu are the main 2. Join the Bold Gang.
Yeah, of course, of course. I would like to see you try and say that to Potter again, though. It's going to be the battle of the Jets, and this time he comes out on top. As said, we've seen CNED be the difference in all the rounds, and you know what? I think ACEND agree with us. They've brought him back from the depths, and out for the reposition. He actually getting tagged up. He's going to have to fall back out of the site, and they're going to use this to try and claim some extra space. Zeke looking for a duel, hoping that someone's going to try and fight against him. But this time, Ryan, it's a lot more passive from VIVO KEYD.
Yeah, some of that post-plant, or anti-plant utility coming out of the side of VIVO KEYD. Not really connecting all that much onto the star zone, to the point he's actually just staying in that spot. He definitely likes to do it a little bit. Popped up onto the high ground. Bone Cold with a recon dart. It's going to see if any players come through on rafters, and it's just been watched keenly. This is a really nice post plant from ACEND, but VIVO KEYD still in it, dedicating the res as well. It's just Murray's left.
Oh, CNED's going to walk into him. Turns it into a 1v2 scenario. He's getting smashed with utility, but doesn't take much damage from it. The tap, oh, and he actually gets the conversion! This man moves on to the Killjoy and finds every single headshot along the way. He's been on fire so far.
Just a change in the agent as well. That's 2 4Ks on Killjoy. He has another lockdown ready to go. And we were worried about ACEND's like mental, right? That's a hard round to come back from. And you didn't really expect Murray to be able to do that. And even just like the utility from Bone Cold and KEYD to try and like the shock darts whilst he was in that pocket around Jenny wasn't quite connecting that well.
Yeah, that is a Red Bull clutch that can put you in the dirt. A 1 versus 3, CNED even flying over the top of his head, finding himself that sort of extra kill, and then just transferring onto the 1 versus 2. I am not surprised at all. You know, ACEND go, we need a moment. Yeah. We need a moment. We've seen them in previous events during the pauses, singing some songs, doing some little clapping.
They're not doing that right now.
They're not doing that right now. And I don't really blame them, because that is not a scenario that ever should have happened. But I think we're just seeing the proof. Like, we've spoken about this many a time, so of the desk, that VIVO KEYD are that Brazilian super team. Like, we've got some long-standing rosters here as well, but this is the squad that have been continuously changing, bringing players, individuals in to almost help them pop off, Ryan, and the combination right now looks pretty good. And
it's only a team for VIVO KEYD that have been together since stage 3. Like, it's not even been like ACEND has been throughout the year. ACEND winning Masters 1 in the EU region, not EMEA even. It was just a big surprise, really, when you're looking at some of the teams in there. But ACEND have had a lot of pressure on their shoulders and have sort of fallen out of favour in a few games. Like the first game that I casted with Mitch, which was one of my favourite ones to do, was ACEND losing to Team Vitality in stage 2. Like, it's just been throughout the year. ACEND have had to deal with this monkey on their back that, all right, you won Masters 1. You have to lead by example. With teams like Gambit and stuff and some Turkish super teams coming up and down, ACEND have done well to stay, but to be on the top, that's been the awkward part.
Oh, they're still going to have a bye for this one. The rounds they have been winning have been relatively clean, and on the other side of things, of course, only 1 player surviving for VIVO KEYD, so there is still very much a chance to pull off a response, although we do normally see a fair amount of attack rounds on this map from, well, most teams playing it, so I am starting to worry a little bit for ACEND that I've bitten off a little more than they can chew this time. CNED, I think, has just decided, you know, I'm gonna bait that shot out, because it has been Heat. I want to say winning that duel more often than not.
Across multiple players, yeah. I think CNED's won it. I think the only time he did win it was over towards this tube position, actually. So that mid pressure's coming in. They baited out the operator shot, so it's like, all right, we can't really go A this time. Zeke is one ult orb away from having an Empress. That might be quite useful, but the concern I have is that Murray's does have that lockdown. There is no Hunter's Fury to try and combat it this time. And with time being relatively low now for Ascend, that might be the play for Murray. Just get that lockdown, and then it's awkward, especially now that these utilities be dedicated and the plant's going down.
Yeah, the worry for me is that that last retake only worked because of a clutch. Now, sure, this is a completely different scenario, but Ascend have done well for the most part in these scenarios. The lurk play as well from Zeke is already going to shut down one, and they expected him to leave. Instead, Starzo sticks around! He's going to pop the head of 3 and leave just one man standing. He doesn't care that he's been detected.
No.
Okay, it doesn't matter. He gets the first one, but he's got 4 more to find, and Zeke is lurking behind. What a round from Starzo. Pop off to respond to the previous, and Ascend right back on the horse. And I want to see the economy right now for VIVO KEYD, because as I said, they survived that last one because of a clutch. That means their money might not be great.
Especially Heat buying up that op time and time again.
Yes.
I mean, this is the round to eco on, right? You want to go into round 12 with as much as possible, so if you keep trying to scramble up a buy, especially now that you do have a Viper's Pit, you do have a Bladestorm one ult orb away, so Heat is going to be pretty fine for this round. And a good one to win. I like that we're seeing teams try to adapt around that lockdown play of just keeping one player that's going to get detained, but if you can get a couple of kills, it's 100% worth it. Reminds me of Guild on Haven as well from LCQ.
I like this as well from Ascend. I think they've realized, okay, chances are VIVO KEYD want to battle for one of the ultimate orbs. Like, if your Jet is one away, you're going to be looking to try and get that Bladestorm. So they fight both sides of the map, one side with the drone, the other with the passive players waiting. CNED, who's going to expect him to be there? Like, he is peeking out off the back of his teammate's screen, going just that little bit deeper to allow him just a bit of space. And that's enough for him to basically shut down this round. There should be absolutely no way back into this one.
And just the fact that he didn't repeat from the same angle, he's still going for these fights, but just changing it up enough. He's intelligent to know where he can see what on any given position. Whilst he loses that, well, he doesn't lose it, but he doesn't get the kill in that first fire whilst he's playing on stairs. He backs off a little bit, catches Vixen. I think they know where he is, roughly.
Oh, they definitely do now.
They had an inkling before.
Well, him dying doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's a Prime Gaming flawless coming out from Ascend as well, as they do start to build back into this half. What was looking fairly dangerous off the back from an incredible performance from Muriz, and I guess Heat as well. The thing is, though, a 6-6 scoreline, although I will say that I think VIVO KEYD can be fairly happy with that, it's definitely not a death sentence by any stretch for Ascend.
No, not at all. I think it's not even a case of... Especially because it's been so long since we've properly seen Ascend on this map. I think they played it once in some of the third-party tournaments in between. They didn't play it in home ground, for example. But it was never a map that they banned. It was never really a map that they picked. So there is a suggestion there that they're comfortable to be on here, and that's what it looks like, but it doesn't give you the same we are a master across different maps like Vision Strikers does. And I think that's why Ascend is sort of outed as top 4 or 5 teams that are likely to win champions.
Yeah, I think looking at this especially, like, again, with this map pool, I think both teams are going to be relatively happy. Like, I think the only...
More so Ascend, though, with Bind.
No, that's what I mean. It's like, you've got that one map that I think no matter what happened, like, clearly, if VIVO KEYD don't want to play Ascent, then banning that is not really that much of a shock. It's evidently something they don't feel confident in. Then it was either going to be that or Bind, so they're picking the lesser of 2 evils. The other 2 maps in the pool are fine, but if I was going to pick 2 maps personally that I would almost bet on Ascend to win in this series, it would be Bind, obviously, and then Breeze. Like, I think they're Breeze, especially just because it looks like a map that really suits CNED, open spaces. I feel like he's almost like some sort of, like, I don't know, like an animal. He's allowed out. It's like, he gets these like nice open spaces.
He's just let off the chain.
Yeah.
He's just like the Tasmanian devil.
Letting your dog out in the park. Yeah. But no, honestly, it is one of those things, though, where he's set free with that operator, and he's just so good on that map. So even though it's for a Viper's Pit, like, putting it down mid almost just as that, like, distraction to completely confuse their opposition. So I like it. I think it's something a little bit different. And I do start to wonder if there's going to be a few more little gimmicks or little things that Ascend are going to be throwing in off of that.
Well, it was just the fact that we had that tack timer after the tech is just, that could be Ascend going, hey, let's do this. Let's really get under their head. And also just tech pauses take the momentum out sometimes, that just having a plan, having an idea, just keeping the mental high. It's why that tap pause came in the end, but ACEND used it very much to their advantage.
But you know what? I assume we're going to be heading this one back over to the desk so they can have a little bit of a chat about what has gone on, and I'm interested to see what they thought of that final round as well.
It's lovely.
It's a fair assumption there, Tom. Heading back over to us for halftime. Equalized 6-6 with a flawless final round there for ACEND. But I like where we're at. Dead even going into halftime for both of these teams. We talked about it needing to get done for VIVO KEYD here on ICEBOX. And the way they started, and Murray specifically, 4K pistol round, he's feeling hot.
I mean, the man couldn't stop. Whether or not he's on a Killjoy or not, I don't think it matters to him. I think he just understands where he needs to be, how he needs to capitalize, and that's a strength for VIVO KEYD because on the pre-desk, didn't we say every other player on VIVO KEYD outside of Moritz?
Yeah,
didn't we
pretty
only
much.
give him like 10 seconds of airtime?
Yeah.
The man was like, where's my spotlight? Get me on the desk.
Right, and now he's top fragging for the squad. Of course, it seems natural that right behind him is Heat, and it didn't take us long to find our HyperX reflex moment of the day. It came in round 3. It was Heat finding a single kill on the A push by ACEND, but the reaction time there was sick. Let's see if we can get a look.
Yeah, it was just absolutely nasty from him, and hopefully we'll pull it up here in just a second so we can relive it. Hopefully we play it multiple times because it is very much a reflex moment. It's so very quick. Just that instant.
Yeah, this could become a little bit rough. He's got the ability to dismiss if he needs it. And, well, eventually it will come through. Starzo falls, so again, at least a player being dropped, but one death is not going to be too much of a cost for the defenders, and they'll find all the remaining kills fairly easily. 8-6, ACEND take the lead, but this is where we expect a response.
One other thing I wanted to mention as well with Murray is 14-9 currently. First official game on Killjoy. Probably to nobody's surprise, but it's still good to check. And he has been a player that I think has just been trying to find his feet. He's almost like the GTN FRZ of Vikings. Just the meta changing at the start of the year. A lot of teams playing double duelist, especially in Brazil. Once we went into a Sky meta, it's just... You could play Sky like a duelist. Now, you kind of can. You can play in various different ways. That's the beauty of that agent at the very least. You have freedom to play other stuff at the very least.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was 14-4. So I'm pretty sure he's died 5 rounds in a row. So it's been very explosive rounds from Murray's that have definitely been highly impactful, but in terms of consistency, I think that's been the issue so far for VIVO KEYD.
Well, other than the 2 4K rounds, we're doing a lot of maths this
yeah, let's stop that. You never do math on air.
Outside of the flashy rounds we've seen from him, he's just been chipping away. It's not like he's been multi-killing every single round.
Well, for now, this is a very weak purchase for ACEND. They've just got those bonus weapons from before, a pistol alongside the Spectres. The range game is going to clearly favor the side of VIVO KEYD. And by the looks of it, they're going to have a fairly easy B plant because the rest of the players are currently looking to try and challenge into mid. It's
scary though, you don't really have that Aldrin. It was used already from MW. You might not even had the money to get it at this point. If you're looking at Heat, he's only got 25 armor, so even though this is a full buy, only just in some of these cases. But despite going down, there's no lurks, there's no cute plays from ACEND, even though you are taking the attention for VIVO KEYD that are kind of watching behind him a little bit. Yeah, Zhao is playing very close.
Ooh, I'm wondering if they're going to try and counter all this. Starzo has his own that he might just look to try and peek out. They're going to already clear out one, but with the rifles in hand, they should just look to spam it through, and the cleanup doesn't take too long whatsoever. A solid hold from the side of VIVO KEYD. Someone expected in a round like this, and well, the retake plan from ACEND not working out this time.
Yeah, Zhao sort of offering himself, Joe offering himself up pretty well there. I think just those kind of moments, so whilst he does go down, like you said, that Sage Wall came in to try and block a defuse. ACEND in that moment panicked a little bit, don't you think? It was just a bit of a, why is he here? And at this point, the rest of the team can capitalize. One of the interesting things that I saw in an interview with, I think it was Morris, about MW. MW's going to be playing relatively passively. You sort of expect him from being a pure duelist player up until now to maybe playing a bit more aggro, especially with Morris moving over to a Sentinel. But no, it's been Heat making those entrances, and the playoff from that from VIVO KEYD has been pretty impressive so far.
I like the attempt, but the peekaboo spot out from Zeke hasn't worked whatsoever, and there's a push coming straight up to the side. They're just looking to try and run this one straight through. Murray's leading the charge, and He's managed to get quite far. I don't know if they've realized that
it.
he's got all the way through, and Bone Cold's going to be the one to catch a bullet for it. Now Killers is in a horrible spot. Either has to face the wrath of the full team, or try and catch them on the way, and he does exceptionally well. Starzo even going to wall up over the top, try and battle them, but he takes the brunt of the damage. A 2 versus 2 scenario in the lurk coming through from Heat is not going to be expected at all. It's left onto Starzo to try and bring this one back, and he gets nothing. Heat with 3 kills, scoreline equalized, VIVO KEYD back.
Even then, you're forcing ACEND to do what Starzo did, the sort of wall boost plays, the kind of things that you see from well-known streamers that play the agents, right? It's forcing over-egregious plays from ACEND on his defense just to try and catch VIVO KEYD off guard. But like I mentioned, that team play has been very impressive, considering you've only had MW0 in this roster for a couple of months, if that, at the very most.
Yeah. But
even just in general, this squad is very new. The interesting thing as well I wanted to mention, MW0, Joe, used to play on Game Landers together. So there is a bit of synergy. It's not like MW0 is completely outcasted from this side. And I think so far, that's probably one of the reasons why this VIVO KEYD team looks so in sync with each other.
Yeah, especially for a roster that I think a lot of people are just looking at them as that individual
firepower
team.
All in, no brain.
It hasn't really looked that way. They've had those lurk plays, decent trades. Sure, there's been a few flashy plays along the way, but they're looking much more well-rounded. Now, it's something I said yesterday when we saw the loss of Gambit. I never really like to judge a team just on their ICEBOX performance, because I feel like it's a more simplified map than a lot of the others we have within the pool. So I don't want to take too much, but
sometimes that's nice, though.
True.
Especially for a first map that we've seen VIVO KEYD in a while. It's just a good, like I said with Team Secret yesterday, stress tests. You're not going to be over egregious with compositions. And Bone Cold, again, dying in the same position as the last time. This one, it's an eco, so it's not really too much. But if they could scare Bone Cold away from playing in these spots where he wants to keep an eye out, that's going to work very well in VIVO KEYD's favor. Like, confidence is so important for either side, but especially when it's on for VIVO KEYD, that's a freight train.
There's a few ults fairly close for the side of ACEND, so any kills they can get might actually benefit them quite a bit, but for now the hold, lovely movement from VIVO KEYD is looking stellar. Killers will at least get one, but it's not really going to harm the Brazilians too much. 9-8 as they confirm their lead now, and that's it. We're waiting for a response, because a lot of the time we do expect some stellar attacking sides, and thus far that's what we've got from VIVO KEYD.
Well, we see the operator coming out of CNED at this point. It is in. It sort of adds to that narrative, I suppose, the story of just, you know, it's might be much better when it comes to having those operator rounds, and I think this is an important one really for ACEND to win. It's been streaky, just winning a pistol, last 3 lost. And ultimates as well. There's enough for ACEND to work with here to really cause issues for VIVO KEYD. Viper's Pit's going to be the first one used in a direction where a lot of traffic is going from the Brazilian side.
Killers is going to pop it, but back off, just trying his best to avoid the drone. And actually, they're going to make this very awkward for him. Now, he's got to try and go back in just to keep the integrity of the Viper's Pit.
Look at Joe.
Then he has to try and back out. So this is becoming quite a problem. Zeke as well popping the Empress as they look to try and push through, and Killers has actually been trapped, but it almost works as a bit of a bait if they tried to push him down. There were plenty of players ready and waiting. Even still, though, it is going to be the plant come through, and he manages to get the opener.
The Viper's Pit being down now is not really too much of an issue. The lurk was attempted from Joe, but in fact moved away. I think he was caught by the turret setup in the end from Morris, and now the Hunter's Fury coming through, trying to see if he can catch anybody as another Viper's Pit's dedicated on the defense, the attack this side even. It's a bit of a mess, but ACEND are coming out.
Yeah, they're doing well from this, but that's just a triple, a quad spray down from MW0.
He didn't even use the recon dart.
He's just stood there with it in hand, waiting at the end. I can't believe it. I think we need a replay of whatever he just did, because that spam through, that play is one of the reasons they wanted this hot property. It's alone, but you know what? I feel like this is almost looking like that 10 scenario. It's like, yeah, we've loaned him out, but they might just have to pay the big bucks, because these are the sort of plays that are making the difference.
Stars are going down so early in that as well. We've seen that a couple of times now from ACEND.
He's so loud he broke the mic.
Yeah, it just peaked. A production are like mute.
When you scream so loud, you cause a technical pause.
They Gambit, it was a bit more clinical, but still an area where you kind of go, especially me, wants to see Gambit do relatively well in this tournament, if I'm being biased. So the fact that they looked a bit awkward against Team Secret is like, okay, especially when Vision Strikers look clinical, to say the very least. And I think that's what's been missing from ACEND, especially with those peaks. A couple of times they've lined up and just got mowed down.
Key scenarios, but I really don't want to take anything away from VIVO KEYD. They've been fantastic. They've had those players that are performing to the standard we expected, but even still, Zeke hoping to try and find something on aggression, not really getting anything for it. They are, however, walking into the blade storm of CNED, and if anything can turn around, it would be this player with this weapon.
I also think this is just a good map for MW0 when it comes to playing solo for the first time, because it is just very straightforward with using that utility. Like the Owl Drone going onto A to temper some of that defensive aggression, Recon down onto the back of the site as well. And it is working because ACEND now are starting to try and make those hero plays. What Pete was punished with on the defense, now Zeke is, and Keylez, with that Sheriff, wanted to try and surprise. It was cute, but VIVO KEYD are not going to fall for it. Not lost a player yet.
Yeah, I think this is the man we need to be watching, though. If there's anybody who can at least make this costly, it is going to be CNED. But again, in these afterplants, I've been fairly impressed by VIVO KEYD. They look strong, haven't really been making too many silly mistakes, and for now, they are going to lose the first. Bone Cold managing to find a kill. Starzo's found another one. The Knives still standing, but they dissipate. A few missed shots here and there, and although it started to look a little shaky, VIVO KEYD will make sure there is no shenanigans in this eco round.
Yeah, nice attempt. Also being onto Murray's and Joe going down. Not a big deal. Like, Joe being 5-15 is just kind of par for the course for him. Like, technically, like, ACS is one of the lowest in the team. He is the IGL, to be fair. And also playing the Sage, he is just... He's like FedEx with that spike. He's just
they got 3 superstar players. Like, does he need to frag? I feel like if they do not win this game now, I'm not going to be looking at just Joe. I'm going to be saying, okay, what went wrong elsewhere?
Scoreboard Stevens might, but we're just saying no.
Here we go. Again, a very fast-paced take. They'll know that there's a buy coming up here for ACEND, and then the last time they spammed their ultimates to get it through, they've spotted out killers early on. What is the response here? MW0 is already going to tag him at the back, so he's going to be isolated. But Starzo, he's managed to threat Danito. He gets nothing, though. The turnaround from Joe. We mentioned that fragging ability. That might be the most important kill of the round. Still, though, Bone Cold trying to do something in response. He's actually getting shot back, but he gets the kill onto Vixen anyway, turning it into an advantageous position, but they've still got plenty to isolate. And as we mentioned already, these afterplants thus far have been strong. This kill might be everything. I don't think he actually spotted the gun barrel pointing through. He's going to catch him with a dart out. A teammate even helps as well. It's left on to CNED and Zeke. And we'll make that just Zeke. A 1 versus 2 scenario. The time already ticking so far, and he's just going to have to save his gun. A big round for VIVO KEYD. They have got their 12th.
Even the case where we saw Murray's pushing through towards Snowman through that toxic screen. He gets the 1, he catches onto Bone Cold. Keylez is still lurking around there, but MW0 yet again is there to trade. Him going down, not a big deal considering the streak of rounds that we've seen from the attacking side. Oh, this is the ACEND that we really didn't want to see, and considering all of the practice and the proudness of them being like, we're going into every tournament playing properly, because we need official experience and you need to play properly in order to be the best. You can't sandbag, certainly not what they did in home ground. Whilst they made the final.
One piece is missing. It's not going to be a good attempt from ACEND. They've got some rifles on maybe the players that matter, I guess, but CNED's definitely not been, well, that sort of world-dominating player that we expect to see, especially on this map. For now, though, see what they can do. It is, again, straight after the pause, straight after their opponents try and adapt. VIVO KEYD pick up the pace. They're going running straight in towards this site. Zeke's already dead, and it's Murray's again. 2 kills to open. Starzo, at least, is able to respond. The orbs already being retrieved. Maybe trying to get a little bit closer to that res. Joe is going to get himself another. Still quite far away from bringing a player back, but they might not need it at this point. CNED has found one, but a cost of a lot of HP. There is, however, a res on the other side. ACEND would need to try and find a player here, and Bone Cold has been brought back, putting them in an advantageous spot. Killers has found another, making this one look more than possible, but he still stands alongside MW0. These two have been unbelievable thus far, but now it's just on to one. It looks like an impossible scenario. 10 HP to try and kill off two. The shot dart isn't really going to do anything. Bone Cold tag, but it doesn't matter. It will be ACEND to live to fight another day. And VIVO KEYD not out yet. That was a round they could have won.
Yeah, and the fact that ACEND have been struggling in those kind of rounds, we haven't seen them have those insane clutch outs. And MW0, he had those shock darts ready to go, but just the decisions, inexperienced maybe on the role playing at least somewhat of a part. I'm sure if it was on Raze, he would have blast packed his face right in there to an extent. But really good play from CNED, Starkso, Bone Cold, especially losing two players so early in that round and baiting out an ultimate. And with that buy, that's the kind of tight ACEND play that you really want to see in a tournament like this.
Again though, it's those openers. Like VIVO KEYD still managed to get two straight into the site. And
it's not deterring ACEND though, look. They're still pushing. Like, they're putting up the Sage Wall, the Aldrone to get information. It makes sort of re-aggressing onto this A site more difficult. But Zeke is still just trying to face. He's been doing it a little bit, punished mostly, but I do like this angle. Joe being able to wall it up, it's not really going to be too much seen. And VIVO KEYD at this point, not over-aggressing, it's just straightforward post-plant, sit back, Killjoy lockdowns, creating a lot of different space, and the resurrect if they need it.
And on the other side of things, sure, there's a couple of ults that are not far away, the Blade Storm, also the Empress, just one kill needed to get either of those online. They've got a lot still to do. Already getting spotting out. They've got this retake wall available. CNED is going to get two already. Looking like this is possible, but Vixen fighting. Looking to try and spray them down. It's left all onto Heat. The operator in hand. He's been spotted, but what is that flick? He's found himself one. Just trying to bait Zeke off the defuse, and he's already done it. Just leaving it down to this last player. A whiff spot, but he's buying time. And Zeke is just trying to stick it. Heat is going to close it out in the exact fashion we've seen from VIVO KEYD throughout this map. It will be the Brazilians to put the first number on the board again.
Oh, that's a bad start for ACEND. They were very much